Just posting those links you shared.
Yeah.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House, the beginning of a week. And Bindoji's sessions on Bhagavad Gita continues, class number 26. The replays are available in Clubhouse. There is also a YouTube channel called Advaita Retold. And we have updated also the Spotify and Apple podcast links in the chat where you can listen to these replays. Just for housekeeping, a few things like we're going to close down the chat and hand raising when Bindoji is conducting the class. And in about an hour, we'll open up the chat and the hand raising. Thank you for coming, and over to you, Bindoji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Welcome all. My invocations. Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashakrudav Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bhagavad Gita Dhyana Shlokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Tunvandi Divyaistavai Vedai Sanga Padakramo Vanishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam Na Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Oh. So in the last class, we saw that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdhvando Nirtasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. So we saw that in that
Vedas are talking about the three gunas for the creation and pertaining to that Traigunya Vishaya. All the matter it is in the creation is Trigunatmika, Sattva Rajas Tamas. So to go above them, we have to be Nistraigunya. That means should not be entangled in the creation or the nature of creation, the way it is appearing in this thing. Now later in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will tell us or teach us that the Indriyas are based on the Trigunatmika, based on the three gunas, and then all the objects are based on the Indriyas, Indriya Teshu. So each corresponding object, aspect of the object is due to certain nature of the organ of perception and organ of action. One has to be above all, transcendental to the nature of what you call Sattva Rajas Tamas. O Arjuna, you have to be indifferent to. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the sense organs and their nature of perception. You cannot control the mind, which is also Trigunatmika, made of the three gunas, how the mind will be functioning. But knowing them as objects for you, who is a Sakshi, you can remain in Nistraiguna Avastha. That is the divide of the three gunas compelling forces on affecting you. They can affect only up to the mind. Beyond the mind, they have no access, because mind, sense organs, and the body, they are all the one range in the Trigunatmika. So when you want to be Nistraigunya, how will you do that? You have to associate yourself to be the witness for the mind and the sense organs and the sense objects. That way you become Nistraigunya. Nirdvanda, without the duality. All sorts of duality, which he will be talking in the next few verses, how the Dvandva is getting affected. But he has also referred it in the earlier one, Sukhadukke Sami Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. That verse he has handled it in detailed manner. Nitya Sattvastaha. Esta Sattvastaha Sataha Bhavaha Sattva. But Sattva also got another meaning of Sattva Rajas Tamas. There also the same word, the same spelling is used in the Sanskrit literature also. But Sataha Bhava means the nature of being in existence is also Sattva. So Nitya Sattvastaha means you have established in the eternal nature of existence. Niryogakshema, without attachment to yoga and kshema or concerned about yoga and kshema. Yoga is accumulation, kshema is protection of that. That is aggrandizing and upkeeping of that. You don't have to do that. How will you cannot be aggrandizing and up without upkeeping? When you know that you are beyond them, beyond the sense objects, including the mind, you are beyond that. There is nothing for you to gain and nothing for you to protect, because you are neither going to gain or lose anything from that. So when you know that you have neither gain or loss of any nature, you are everything. Everything is in you. When that type of existence, abidance happens, you will be beyond the normal human experience of gaining and protection. Atmavan, Atmavit, that same word, Atmavit means one who is established in Atma. So Atmavan is the noun form of it, established in this. This advice is what Krishna has given to Arjuna. Now in the next verse, 46th verse, Yavan artha udavane sarvatah samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. So Yavan means it is starting from that. All that. Yavan means all that. Yavan artha means what is meant. All that is what is meant. Udapane, in a well or in a small pond or in a small lake. Udapane means limited water. Sarvata samprutodake. Sarvata means in all aspects. Samplatodake means a deluge or a great reservoir. Tavan, similarly, Sarveshu Vedeshu, the all Shastra, Vedeshu here is not Vedic literature alone, all Shastras. Brahmanasya, a man of knowledge or Brahmajnani. Vijanataha, Vijanataha means in his knowledge. That means Sarveshu Vedeshu, all the Shastras are similar to a small pond compared to a great ocean when it is compared to the knowledge of the Brahmatnyani. It's a very, telling example which Krishna is using, comparing between the knowledge of a Brahmatnyani and the Shastra, the entire copium of literature in under the spiritual textbooks. Sarveshu Vedeshu, that the word itself is all inclusive of spiritual texts, whether it is Smriti, Shruti, Purana or anything of that nature. All of them are like a small puddle when it compared to a reservoir, when the knowledge of a Brahmatnyani is the reservoir type. So you can imagine, nothing is outside the knowledge of a jnani. To be a jnani or brahmanasya, the word used is brahmanasya, I'll discuss that in detail. Vijanataha. Vijanataha means is the wisdom of the brahmana which is being referred here. So all the shastras which we have studied, the 10 Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutra, or 18 Puranas, Bhagavata, Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything put together is similar to a small puddle or a small well when it is compared to a reservoir. Some commentators categorize that when a deluge is taking place, you don't look for the well for a cup of water, or a requirement of your water is not to be necessarily satisfied from a pond or puddle of small collection of water. Same is the experience of a jnani. For him, the entire textbooks of Shastra is of no use because of the knowledge which he is having himself. That is another way of commentary which I have read. Let us see how Shankaracharya is decoding that. Yata loke koopa tatagadi anekasmin udapane parichinna utake yavan yavat parimanaha snana panadi artha phalam prayojanam saha sarvaha artaha sarvataha sampluta utake api yaha artaha tavan eva sampadyate tatra andarbhavati ityartha. That means, just as in the world, from a well, pond or a lake or the like, where water is limited, whatever benefit there is there from those limited entities of pond, well, etc., to whatever extent for bathing, drinking, etc. The entire benefit is also in the place where the water is flooding everywhere. That means it is included is the meaning, that is the knowledge, the activities what is envisaged in a small water pot is envisaged similar to a flooding when it is happening. The requirement need not be necessarily be depending upon the small puddle or that large reservoir. एवं तावान् तावत् परिमाणः एव सम्पद्यते सर्वेषु वेदेषु वेदोक्तेषु कर्मसु यः अर्थः यत् कर्मफलं स अर्थः ब्राह्मणस्य सन्न्यासिनः परमार्थतावं तत्त्वं विजानतः यः अर्थः यत् विज्ञानफलं सर्वतः सम्प्लुत उदके स्थानीयं तस्मिन् तावान् एव सम्पद्यते तत्र एव अन्तर्भवति इत्यर्थः. So he says that in the same way, whatever benefit there is to the same limited extent in all Vedas and in the actions enjoyed by the Vedas, that benefit, that fruit of action, is obtained in the case of a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a renunciate, who knows the reality of Supreme. That benefit, which is the fruit of knowledge, is like a water flooding everywhere. That alone, the former benefit is obtained. That is included there also is the meaning. Here, Shankaracharya is limiting the Veda to the Karmakanda of the Veda. But that is not the only factor which we are seeing. Second place where he is limiting is the Brahmana as a sannyasi. Now in these two places, there is a difference which I see, because Shankaracharya himself refers to Brahmana as Brahmajnani in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Janmadhyasya yataha, that is in 112. There he is referring that Brahmana as Brahmajnani, whereas in here he has mentioned Brahmanasya as Sannyasinaha. Why did he make it that? We will check, we will see that later. In the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya itself, under verse 5.18 and 18.42, the true Brahmana is being described by Shankaracharya there also. There also he has not used as sannyasin as the word. Shankaracharya derives the word Brahmana from the root meaning one who knows Brahman. Brahma janati iti Brahmana, emphasizing that the essential qualification is jnana, not by birth. In the Janmadhyasya yataha, that is Brahma jitnyasa Brahmanasya adhikaraha, the inquiry into Brahman is the authority of Brahmana, is the word which is the sentence what Shankaracharya has written there in the commentary. There he clarifies that Brahma janati iti Brahmana, one who knows Brahman is the Brahmana. In the 5th chapter, 18th verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gevihastini Suni Chaipaswapahakeja Pandita Samadarshinaha. In that verse, again Shankaracharya comments that Pandita, the wise person, sees equally because of Brahma Aikya Darshana. He explains that then when the verse mentions Brahmana, it refers to one who is established in Brahmajnana, not merely by birth status. Same way, in the 18th chapter, 42 verse, Shamo dhamas tapascha chaityam shaucham kshanti arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam asti ekyam brahma karma swabhavajam. Brahma karma swabhavajam. So here also he emphasized that jnanam and vijnanam, that is knowledge and realization, are the essential characteristics which makes a Brahmana. Brahma karoti iti Brahmana, one who realizes or manifests Brahman is a Brahmana. Or Brahma Veda iti va is the alternatively he is mentioning here. In the Taittiriya Bhashya also, 1.11.1, we saw that. Satyam vada dharmam chara. There also he is addressing that Brahma Vidyayam Adhikritaha means one who qualified for the Brahma Vidya. Satyam vada dharmam chara. That is. So all the places Janmana Brahmana na bhavati. One does not become a Brahmana by birth alone. Jnanena Brahmana. By knowledge alone, one becomes Brahmana. This is the reason why I was not very comfortable to read in this commentary where he mentioned that Brahmanasya means sannyasinaha. Whereas here we are talking about Vijnana Phala, the result of fruit of knowledge or the result of knowledge. Sarvata samplutu tuke sthaniyam. That means like a reservoir of knowledge. So, a sannyasi is a renunciate who has understood the requirement of, vairagya. But does not necessarily mean he is a jnani. One who has renounced everything, he need not be a Brahmajnani. But at another places, Shankaracharya says that sannyasa jnana lakshanam. That only a person who has realized the nature of Brahman can be really a sannyasi. That means that reference where he is making that sannyasa lakshanam, jnanam sannyasa lakshanam, when he says that, it is referring to this aspect again. There the renunciation he is explaining as samyak nasa. That means all sorts of multiplicity is being negated. Samyak nasa, sannyasi, not the ochre-robed person. So that we have to understand that what he meant here is not the ochre-robed person, but a Brahmajnani who has renounced everything. Renounced everything means he doesn't see multiplicity. So such a person is alone is the Vijnana Phalam who has the Samvrato Samplatotake. His knowledge is then only like a flood deluge or a great reservoir. In that, he doesn't see karma as a separate existence. He doesn't have to necessarily differentiate. So, he explains it further, saying that Yada Kridaya Vijitaya Adareyaha Samyanti Evam Yenam Sarvam Tat Adhisameti Yat Kinchit Praja Sadhu Kurvanti Yaha Tat Vedaha Yat Saha Veda. Shankaracharya here is quoting 4th chapter, 1st Kanda, 4th mantra of Chandogya Upanishad. We have not studied the 4th chapter of Chandogya, so you may not be knowing it. He is saying that this is supported by the Upanishadic statement. What does the meaning say? As inferior rivers flow into one that has completed and conquered, so all this comes to him, whatever good deeds people perform, to the one who knows that he indeed knows. This is the literal meaning of the Chandogya mantra. What does it say? Like all the small rivers, inferior rivers means small rivers, flow into one that has become a full-fledged river. All the tributaries of the river, when they merge, that becomes a single big huge river. Same way, all this comes to him, whatever good deeds people perform. Yat kinchit praja sadhu kurvanti. That means those who are doing the activity without knowing the reality of it. Their actions also are seen by this person, the one who knows that. Means one who has become the big river. And he indeed knows. Yat saha veda. That means he knows that he has compassion for those who are not knowing the truth. He knows that the little information with which those people who are doing the karma kanda or the purva mimamsa, they are also not different from the same Veda which has taught him the Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi Ityadi. So for him, the compassion comes to the people who are not able to see it from that point of view. Then he is quoting Bhagavad Gita 4:33 itself. Sarvam karmagilam partha jnane parisamapyate. There is all this action, whatever remainder is that sarvam akhilam jnane parisamapyate, is heading towards knowledge. Tasmat prat jnana nishta adhikara prapte karmani adhikritena kuva tadagadi arthasthaniyam api karma kartavyam. Therefore, Shankaracharya says that before one attains the eligibility for steadfastness in knowledge, that is the ultimate knowledge, one who is qualified for action must indeed perform action, even though it is only like a limited benefit of ponds or wells or limited water bodies compared to a great reservoir. Because this is where the eligibility of the individual is not directly being referred, but indirectly being referred for us to understand that. If you are not qualified for the understanding of the ultimate knowledge, sadhana is a must. That sadhana is like the small ponds compared to a reservoir. Every drops makes an ocean. We have heard that statement. Same way, every knowledge, when you undertake in the form of an action, will add on to your knowledge, where you will come to a stage, parikshalogan karmajitan brahmana nirvedamaya nastya krita kritayana. That actions can never take me to a state of actionlessness, which is the state of a jnani. Na kurvan navi na karayan. Neither he is a doer nor he is a prompter of action. So that state of nisangata or unattached way in which the jnani is established in the Atman, that cannot be achieved if we cannot understand that. Let us do the sadhana so that gradually we will come to the stage as the pariksha loka. After having done the karmas, we come to know that nasti akrita kritena. This state of akrita means non-doership can never be achieved by kritena, by the doership. Tad vijnanartham, to know that which is the akrita, which is beyond the doership. Sa gurumeva bigachet. He should approach a guru samitpanihi, with proper rituals or proper attitude. Samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. One who is well versed in the Shastras, because your doubts will be coming from the Shastra of doership. He is established, Brahmanishta. He is established in the non-doership. He has reached the non-doership after having realized that the doership is not what he is. So he should be able to appreciate and guide you to the same non-doership from the doership, because he knows both. That is, he is a great reservoir which knows both the doership and non-doership. So this being the meaning of this verse, the analogy, core analogy is for the all-encompassing water compared to the small puddles of wells or ponds, etc. Karma phala is finite, whereas jnana phala is complete, total. Sarvata sampluta. It can include everything. Hence the knower, nothing achieved by karma is missing. Nothing further needs to be done to achieve anything. So this is a state of continuity without any equality comparison requirement. He has quoted both the Shruti, Chandogya as well as Gita for the comparison purpose. And it is why he has quoted them in his commentary is to make it authentic, because he doesn't want to be said that it is his personal interpretation. Because Shastra, Chandogya Upanishad and the Gita is referring to that. Therefore, the Adhikara Veda which is being referred to is before the eligibility of Jnananishta, karma must be done. Even if the karma is like a small pond compared to the great reservoir, it is indispensable for those who are not yet fit. This can avoid premature renunciation, which we see in the, what you call the momentary decision, and taking a ochre robe and becoming a sannyasi, realizing later that they don't have the maturity. Then they are neither here nor there. Some people throw it, some people carry on with it. So that is a confusion of paths. And the ethics collapses under such situation. Now comes the important verse. Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hedurdu made sangastu adharmani. I don't think anybody will be there who has not ever heard this verse in his pursuit of knowledge. Karmani means here it is referring to the prescribed karmas of the Vedas. Eva adhikaraha. Eva means alone or indeed or certainly. Adhikaraha means right. Te means to you. So it means for you, the right is certainly in the prescribed duties of the Vedas. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Never is there for you the fruit of action has a right at any time. Ma, again never. Karma phala, result of the action. Hetuhu bhu, become a cause. Mate sangaha, never there be an attachment for you. Akarmani astu, not doing the prescribed duties. This is a literal translation. Your right is for action alone, never for the results. Do not become an agent of results of an action. Therefore, may you not have any delusion which by you get attached to the inaction or an inclination towards inaction. This, even though the translation is referring to Vedic karmas, prescribed duties, it is applicable to all actions prompted by desires. We need to understand this verse if we have to ever to be rightly placed in the direction of knowledge. Otherwise, the karma or the actions can be confusing. Krishna himself says later, Na buddhibedam janayet atnyanam karma sanginam. Do not confuse the people who are attracted towards karma by giving them the idea of knowledge, because they will never be able to align themselves toward the direction of knowledge, because they are karma sangi. Karma sangi means attracted towards action. Let us go through the Sanskrit commentary of Shankaracharya, then we can discuss in detail. Karmani eva adhikaraha na jnana nishtayam te tava. Your entitlement is only to action, not to steadfastness in knowledge. Shankaracharya says that, Hey Arjuna, you are entitled only to action, because as a aspirant or as a person who is now in a state of despondency, you have not shown that you are well placed for receiving the knowledge. The sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha, that terminology which we have heard before. Viveka vairagya, samadhi shadgam and mumukshutvam. These are the basic requirements or the only requirement for jnana nishta. When Arjuna has not shown this, the direction is very clear from Krishna's point of view. Arjuna is entitled only for action. Tatra cha karma kurvataha ma phaleshu adhikara astu karma phala trishna ma bhut kadachana kasyachit api avasthayam ityarthaha. Not only that, while performing action, let there be no claim over the results. Let there never arise craving for the fruits of action at any time, under any circumstance. Never can we imagine an action without the result of the action along with the action. Imagine any action which we have to perform. The action and the fruit of action, or the result of the action, comes to us simultaneously. We cannot see the action devoid of the fruit of action. That is the nature in which our mind has been programmed by the millions of moments of activity which we have been going through. So our mind is not to be blamed. We have trained our mind to be capable of action only along with the result. But when Krishna says that, let there be no claim over the results and never arise a craving for the fruits of action at any time or any circumstances. How are we supposed to do that if we are not trained for it? This is the place where the previous verses runs as a corollary to this verse. Nistraigunya, Nirdundva, Niryogakshema, Nitya Sattvastha Atmavan. These words which we referred in the beginning of the class today, these are mandatory for us to dealing the result of action from action. Otherwise, we have been trained, as I said, every action with the result is inevitable in our mind. So, when Krishna says that you have to be not put a claim over the results and never have a craving for the fruits of action, this can happen only when you become free from the triguna, free from duality, and free from accumulation and protection. If we do these three things, then we are in the path of knowledge. We are aligned ourselves toward the path of knowledge. Shankaracharya continues, Yada karma phale trishna te syad, tada karma phala prapte hetuhu syah. Evam ma karma phala hetuhu. Yada hi karma phala trishna prayukta karmani pravartave, tada karma phalasya eva janmanaha hedu bhavet. Because when desires of the fruits of action arise in us, then we become the cause for attaining the fruit. Understand very clearly, I am repeating again. Because when the desire for the fruit of action springs in us, then we become the cause for attaining the fruit. Therefore, the connection of the desire and the attainment of the fruit of action are connected. Thus, do not become the cause for the fruit of action. That is more important. The cause for the fruit of action is in our hand, because it is the desire which is connected with the attainment of the fruit of action. So when we can remove the cause by becoming desireless, the fruit of action is not a concern for us. Such a first time when one engages in an action impelled by desire for its result, then one becomes the cause for every birth of the fruit of action. We become the cause for the birth of the fruit of action, because the action independent of the desire is a culmination of action, not a seed for a fruit of action which will grow into a tree of desires later. Think very carefully. And that cycle of desires and action keeps on in a perpetual cycle where we are deluded by the action and the fruit of action to action. This keeps on going. Then the question comes in the mind of everyone. Yadi karma phalam na ishyate, kim karmanah dukkha rupena iti. Ma te sangaha astu akarmani akarane pritihi ma bhut. If the fruit of action is not desired, what is the use of action which is painful? That is a natural thought which we can come. If I cannot desire for the fruit of action, the action without a fruit is painful. Therefore, Krishna says that, thinking thus, let there not arise in you attachment towards non-action. In other words, let there not be a delight in being inactive. Why does Krishna say that? Because action without result is painful. Therefore, avoiding pain is a natural tendency for all of us. In the process of avoiding that painful drudgery of action alone without the fruit of action, we may get into a state of avoidance of action. Avoidance of action is attachment towards non-action. Or we may find happiness in being inactive. Let that not be your direction. So Krishna has very categorically put two directions for us. One is action without desire, which is that desire is the cause which we are giving birth to the fruit of action. So we don't want the fruit of action. Not because the fruit of action is undesirable. Whether it is desirable, undesirable, or all the forms of the fruits of action cannot make us into a state of sukha-dukkhe samikritva. Because sometimes it will be sukha, happiness, or sometimes it will be sorrow. The fruit of action has only two aspects of it. If it is aligned with the desire, then it is a happiness. If it is not aligned with the desire, then it is a pain. or unhappiness. How can we be equanimous towards pain and pleasure? It is only when we decouple the desire in our activity. Without desire, we are not concerned about the fruit of action, whether it is favorable or not favorable, because we are not even bothered about the result. And the result is not mine because I don't have a desire in the action itself. Now the question will come, if there is no motive or no, what you call bonus or benefit out of an action, why should we do an action itself? That is where Krishna says the second line for us. Mate sangastu akarmani. Let you not be desire of inaction, because action without desire is painful. Because you are expecting a result which is favorable. So the expectation gives rise to disappointment when it is not met. So when you are told not even to meet the result, that is 100% disappointing situation. Because you cannot think of an action where the result is there and I cannot touch it. Because I did the job, so is it not my prerogative or my, birthright to enjoy the fruit of action? That is the place where the word he is not used, but we have to keep it in mind. The enjoyership, the doership and the enjoyership comes from the desires. Even while acting, when you don't have a desire, the action will happen without a doership. The doership will come when the desire is there for the fruit of action, which is an enjoymentship. So the enjoyership, bhoktrutva, or the one who is endowed with the enjoyment of the fruits of action, has to be necessarily the one who has the desire to modify, perpetuate or modulate actions towards the direction of the result which is favorable. There you are interfering with the natural force of action or the direction of action for a ulterior motive of a result which is unfavorable. So such actions can be detrimental. In the long run, it will boomerang on the one who is doing it, because it is not a natural process. A natural process action is self-annihilating or self-destroying one. It doesn't give rise to a fruit, nor it is enticing the act doer for a result for it. Action for action's sake. But if you are not able to understand that, you may get confused or deluded with the thinking that inaction is better than if I am not able to go for a fruit of action. That is more dangerous than action. In a state of inactivity, you are not doing anything which is required by the nature. These aspects are discussed in detail in the 3rd and 4th chapter, which we will be dealing once we complete this chapter. Why only action is your adhikara? Shankaracharya is uncompromising there. Knowledge or jnana nishta requires prior fitness. Whereas Arjuna's present state one is action, eligibility towards action. Because he has not come to this Kurukshetra sitting on a chariot ridden by Krishna for a advice from Krishna on jnana. He has come here for action. So the eligibility of Arjuna is only in action. Therefore, denying knowledge is not dismissal for the knowledge's sake, but it's only sequencing in such a way that the premature confusion, escapism, and ethical collapse, all these can be avoided if one is not prepared with the proper sequencing of the action before becoming eligible for knowledge. And when it is not your right for fruits of action, it's a radical reorientation where clarification is that it does not mean the result will not come or that one must reject them after they come. Both are not there. What does it mean? Do not act for the sake of result. That's all it is being said. Let not desire be the motivating force for your action. Because any motive is desire driven. Therefore, desire converts action into bondage, producing causality. You become the cause for it. And that is the reason why desire creates the bondage. Desire for result, which is called the Trishna. Identification of the doer and enjoyer. The Trishna creates that identity for doer and enjoyer. And once you become the doer and enjoyer because of the desire, Trishna, you are becoming the cause for the fruit of action. And therefore the fruit of action necessitates the cycle of action and the fruit and action and the fruit, or birth and death, birth and death. This is the samsara. You are never be able to out of that. Therefore action binds when it is desire-backed agency. But should not that be an reason why I should be inactive? If I should not desire for fruit of action, what is the action at all? What acts at all? Akarma here means avoidance of duty. It is not inaction. Akarma, not sangostu, akarmani is the word used by Krishna. Not karma rahita. Akarma is only avoidance of duty. You are bound to be action, bound to be in action. But if you delight in that actionlessness, then you are pushed into a state of tamas or dull, ignorant state, which is not towards wisdom. And this avoidance of action and sitting idle, saying I am doing meditation, I am not doing any activity, I don't do that thing, yadrachala pasantushta, all those statements you will make, but that is masquerading as a spiritual entity. But you are actually a tamasic person, not a spiritual person. Acting for result will definitely develop bondage, and avoiding action also will lead to delusion. That is where Karma Yoga stands, exactly between the two. Karma Yoga is between the acting for result and avoiding action. So, यदि कर्मफल प्रयुक्तेन न कर्तव्यं कर्मः कथं तर्हि कर्तव्यम् इति उच्यते. If karmaphala prayuktena, if by defining the karmaphala, na kartavyam karma, I should not be doing the karma, if that is the kadam tarhi kartavyam, then that the action, how should be that such an action without the desires? What is the nature of that action which you are referring to, O Krishna? Which is, you are saying that it should be desireless and it should not be attracting towards inaction. The answer to that Krishna gives that Yogastak kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddha siddho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. We will take this verse tomorrow. Verse number 48. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. A deep session on karma yoga. Open the chat and hand raising. I'm sure there should be some questions coming up. I think everybody is deeply in contemplation of the challenge you posed towards the end of your session. How does one act? Oh, Venkatji is saying hand raising is shown turned off. Let me see here.
I just turned it on.
Okay.
Sorry, Venkat. Yes, Venkat. Hariyo.
I have one small question. In the
Yes.
the Bhashya for this Karmani Adhikara say, in that Bhashya, this Karmanyeva Adhikaraha na gnana nishtayam te tava. This you don't have, you have a right to do karma, but not in gnana nishta. Why it's so contradicting? Gnana nishta is knowing one's own nature. Is this because Arjuna is not ready? Why it is said this way?
That is correct. Arjuna is not ready because he has come for the war. And for an war, he has not come to Krishna for an advice or a jnana nishta. So the approach of the student will give the idea to the guru as to what advice to be given. This is what normally happens when we approach Mahatmas. Their words, they know from our approach and our words what is our intent or what is we are looking for. And based on that, they give the advice. So sometimes people will go and say that, no, he didn't tell me anything on the spiritual mark. He was talking to me something about on the sadhana or meditation and things like that. The reason why such a thing happens is that the way in which you have approached the person, that Mahatma, and the questions which you asked are very clear that you are not prepared yourself for a spiritual knowledge which is the ultimate. So based on that, the Mahatma will give you the advice. Same is the case here. Arjuna has come to the war with the fully prepared for fighting a war. So therefore, Arjuna's duty is for action, not for jnana nishta. That is what Shankaracharya is meant by that commentary there.
That's clear, Binduji. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat. Namaste, SK.
So, Binduji, in that case, again, it's like a hypothetical, but so if Arjuna happened to be a Brahmin, then the advice would not be for action.
Arjuna is a Kshatriya who is ready for a war, and his approach towards Krishna and everything is that how do I kill my teacher and others, and I don't mind getting myself killed. He never asked for Krishna, what is the Brahmajnana or how will I acquire knowledge. The question from Arjuna was very clear that he is for action. So he is giving the action, but how to do that action is being explained in the coming verses. So we will know more about it when why did that statement come like that, karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadajana.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ski. Breck.
Namaste, everyone. Bindo.
Namaste, Breck.
This may be a simple question from but I'm going to label myself a tweener since you just spelled it out that karma yoga is needed for me. I haven't been in inaction on purpose out of fear, but I just ended up here. So, and I enjoy being in this place. But I've been wanting to come out of it, and I sense this, and so I'm seeing these opportunities. But my question, you may have just answered it with SK's question, because it seems like the karma yoga is action. So how to do the karma yoga without having skin in the game of the action, it would probably be included in the lessons coming up. Would you say that? Yeah.
Yes, it is coming up in the lessons which are following now.
Okay, thank you, Bindo. So that'll take care of it.
It is discussed in detail without any stone unturned. So it is a full description as to how we can do that. And especially the next two chapters are full of it. So we will get full picture then.
Because it seems quite
Yeah.
interesting to me, Bindo. It just occurred to me that these acts of service that I've done prior, and maybe even now when I see it, I'm like, but my desire would still be that would give me joy. Isn't that still a desire though, Bindo? How do you not have joy on giving to someone else? I don't know how that adds up.
See, the thing is that when we do the action, the joy which is coming, if we connect it to our action, then you are the cause for the action and for the result. That is why very clearly in the end Shankaracharya said that he is saying that we are not to, it is that the action is without any fruit of action. And second thing is that it is that when the fruit of action come, how do we approach the fruit of action? If that is clear to us, then the fruit of action can be there yet not binding us. Today you said your own word, which you said is that, you are enjoying the fruit of action, which shows that it is binding you. Isn't it? Correct?
Yeah, sorry, Bindo. I just got emotional.
Okay. It's okay. We will see more of it in the coming days.
I have a small question.
Namaste, Bharat.
Namaste.
Hari Om.
Binduji, if there is a very clear demarcation drawn in the Shankaracharya Bhashya about the Jnana Nishtha and the Karma Nishtha, that a Kshatriya has to be in the Karma Nishtha and the Brahmana typically can be in the Jnana Nishtha, right? Now, in that sense, what do we make of people like Dronacharya, Ashwatthama being in the battlefield?
Yeah, Ashwatthama, Drona, all of them are Kshatriya by action.
Dronacharya is Brahmana, right?
Even though by birth they are Brahmanas, by he has decided to become a Kshatriya job thing. He was teaching warfare, he was following warfare, and he did take up war as his final action, which shows that even though by birth he is, that is why, I don't know whether you were there before that, I was referring to Janmadhyasya Yataha and then the two verses 533 and 1842 of Bhagavad Gita where Shankaracharya Bhashya is talking about, it is the Jnana Nishta or Jnana Ichha which makes a Brahmana, not by birth. He is very clear about it. You can listen to the replay.
Very beautiful. Thank you very much, Binduji.
Thank you, Bharat. Namaste, Atul.
Namaste, Binduji. I have one question. What is the tattvic meaning of Kurukshetra? Because it is known as Dharm Kshetra, Kurukshetra, right?
See, Kurukshetra is Kurunam Kshetra, Kurukshetra. Means it belongs to the Kuru Vamsha, that war field. Because in those days, there are designated places for everything. So, if there is any war to take place, they have to go to a place which is designated for that, and that belonged to the country where Kurus were the ancestors onwards who were ruling that land. Therefore, it is called the Kurukshetra. But it is, if you want to take an etymological meaning for that, Kuru is coming from the Kru Dhatu, where the duty, action, the action took place in a place where the right action has been advised to Arjuna by Krishna. That way, you want to call it as a Kurukshetra, that also you can be done. But literally or technically, it is the Kurunam Desha. It is the land of Kurus where the fight took place. Therefore, it is called Kurukshetra.
Right. So why it is called like a Dharm Kshetra, Kurukshetra? Dharm Kshetra, yeah.
Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, when it is mentioned that in the Kurukshetra, the war took place for Dharma. Who is on the side of Dharma will win the war. That was the designation for that particular war. So the war was won by the Pandavas. So the Pandavas were fighting for the Dharma. And as per the story in the Mahabharata also, Duryodhana has done enough adharma, and the Praja also was not very happy with the Duryodhana's ruling, and they were wanting the Pandus Putras to come back to power because they were more benevolent and dharmishtas. Therefore,
Right.
that is called Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra.
Okay. If we take it like a symbology, as Krishna as a higher self or self, and Arjuna as an ego, which is deluded one, so how we see it, the entire Gita, in that sense?
Come again? How we see?
That is the Kauravas and Pandavas inside us. If we take it as a symbology, then how it works?
There, symbolically, if you want to look at, is that the ego is not independent alone. Ego is always with the desires, which is hundreds in numbers or thousands in numbers. So the Kauravas represent the desires, which is controlled by Bhishma, which is the ego. Or, that is represented by the, the person who is, here you cannot say Bhishma, here you have to say, take it as Arjuna. Arjuna is not the individual ego who is being represented by that. But Arjuna, when he came for the war, he has come with all the desires to win the war. So that is why Krishna is addressing him that way. The desire is the root cause for all the problems. Okay? I've
Right.
kept Ganesh Prasad waiting for a long time. Sorry, I saw you, but thank you, Atul. I want to give Ganesh Prasad the last.
It's okay, Binduji. Namaste.
Namaste.
As usual, this one haunting verse in the entire Gita and in one's life in India among Indians. The only question I wanted to ask, and I came up, and this was most of the people's questions, that is, could there be an action of that kind? And you also told that it would flow into the following verses in detail. So I just wanted to share, could there be any action without desire? And as you said, how we would, what is our attitude towards the fruit of action would decide the nature of our attitude towards the action, and how they are connected. I am more interested, and like everyone, and that one haunting doubt will be there. Could there be any action without a tinge of, or even having no desire for an action would also be a desire, no? Not to have a desire for action.
That is what Krishna said, no? Let that not be a desire for you to be inactive. You have to be active.
Yeah.
That is for sure, because that is your duty, Swadharma. And in the action, don't have a desire for the fruit of action. The action itself should be an enjoyable action. In the sense that the enjoyment is not in the fruit of action, but in the action itself. And where Krishna will come to the next verse, which I am going to take tomorrow, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, when he is saying that yoga, Karma Yoga, is the Samatvam, which we'll be discussing tomorrow. So you will get the answer tomorrow, exactly what does Krishna wants Arjuna to do.
I think artists would be having a tinge of answer for this. Art for the art's sake, without desiring for anything, to be enjoying that state of mind in which they would be performing. And perhaps that gives a glimpse of that desireless action, I feel. Fine arts are very, very close to this kind of an action, I believe.
I really won't be able to say, but I don't think you are wrong. When they are forgetting themselves, and enjoying into the activity. Mostly the painters or the singers, that type of actors, they forget themselves.
Yes.
So that is where the ego is not
Completely.
interfering with the action.
Yes. Thank you, Binduji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eagerly waiting for tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay. Then we can stop today.
Yeah. So, thanks everyone for coming and asking questions, those who came up to stage, and all the participants. A big thank you for coming and showing up, every day, as Bindoji is putting in the very monumental effort in putting this information together for us. So heartfelt thanks to Bindoji also, as usual. Over to you, Bindoji. We meet tomorrow again at 8:30 p.m. IST. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Venkat, SK, Ganesh, Beck, Bharat, and Atul for the questions. And all of you who have been listening to me carefully. We'll meet tomorrow and continue this discussion. Hari Om. Good night.